Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Math Puzzle Crash Course. Got a real simple little puzzle here. I've seen different variations of this one on the internet, mostly on Facebook. Seen them listed in a few other places, and I wanted to go through this one real quick for everyone. This one is about buying and selling a pig a couple of times. So this one's that I bought a pig for $300. I sold the pig for $600. I bought the pig again for $800. I sold the pig again for $1,000. How much money did I make? So we can look at this and say, well, there were two different sets of buy and sell transactions. And one way to look at this would be to look at them separately. So set number one, we would have you basically sold the pig at 600, you bought it at 300, right? So you bought it at 300, you sold it for 600 right here. So set number one, you can take the selling price of 600, subtract what you paid for it, 300, and you end up with $300. So in this very first sell, I made $300. Now, the second set of transactions, I bought the pig again for $800. I sold the pig again for $1,000. So that's another easy one. You can take 1,000 and subtract the 800, which is what I paid for it the second time. So if I sold it for 1,000 and I paid for it, bought it for 800, I made $200 on the second sale. So I made a total profit of 300 on the first sale, 200 on the second sale. And I could add those two up and I get 300 plus 200 equals 500. And I can already see some people arguing with that idea, but we're going to go through it step by step. So please follow along if you don't quite understand how I got the 500. There's another way you could look at it. There's multiple ways you could look at this. You could add up all of the money that I spent and all of the money that I received. So, here I kind of highlighted in yellow where I spent money. Like I bought the pig for 300 on this first line. Down here on the third line, I bought the pig again for 800. So you could add those two numbers up. That's how much money I gave out. Whenever I sold the pig, I had money coming in. I sold the pig once here for 600. I sold the pig in the final sale for 1,000. So you could add that all up. I could add up my money spent, which was $300, which is here. See, I've got it here, $300 plus $800 because I bought the pig again right here, 800. So 300 and 800 is $1,100. Now, the money I received would be whenever I sold the pig, which I sold the pig once for 600. I sold the pig once here for 1,000. So you can add up 600 and 1,000. That's how much money was given to me. That adds up to 1,600. So all you really have to do is subtract how much money came in minus how much money went out, and that's 1,600 minus 1,000 equals $500. So once again, I made $500. So I'm going to cover this a little bit here. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they assume that I lost money because I paid more for the pig the second time. Some people get really stuck on that without really figuring it out. And the truth is, had I bought the pig for $300 initially up here, had I bought it for 300 and waited all the way here until the pig was worth 1,000, well, I would have made $700. But I made less than that because I paid more for the pig the second time I bought it. So what a lot of people don't understand is this money, it's already accounted for because of the fact that I paid more for the pig the second time. I could have made 700, but I only made 500. So that's already accounted for, but some people want to subtract extra amounts out for no reason. The other mistake that I see a lot of people make on these, and I've seen this type of a puzzle online and I've seen a lot of the answers, but a lot of people make an assumption of how much money I had or the person buying the pig, they assume that how much money I had when I first bought the pig. I mean, I don't know how you come up with that from reading these sentences. Unless you looked in my wallet or you accessed my bank account, which I hope you didn't, you have no idea how much money I had before I went into this pig business that I started. You know, pigs are us. Nobody's got any clue. Some people say, well, you only had 300. Where does it say that? It says I bought a pig for $300. I mean, when I go to McDonald's and I buy a Happy Meal for $8, does that mean that I went to McDonald's with $8 in my wallet and that's all the money that I had? I mean, think about how ridiculous that statement is to say that you only had $300 to start with. Nobody knows how much money I had. You know, I've got money in my wallet, money in the bank, money coming in. Who knows? There's no way to know that. So that's a terrible assumption that some people are making. Um, we assume based on the words above, I mean, we're reading these sentences, I bought, I sold, I bought, I sold. We're assuming based on the words above that I had enough money to buy this pig twice. There's nothing above that clues us in on how much money I had available. And I'm sorry if some people, it may be very, very obvious to a lot of the people, listening to this and seeing this, but I will tell you that there's a big percentage of people that get hung up on those two things that I just mentioned. And you could easily test this all out, by starting out with different hypothetical amounts of money. If, especially if all of you imagine I had $1 million to start with, I'd really appreciate that. The more of you that, are thinking about me having $1 million, maybe it'll just magically fall in my lap. Who knows? But what I mean by that is, just for fun, let's pretend I had $1,000 available before I went into this pig business, Who knows? We don't know. So we're going to set up this mythical checkbook register where we're going to assume that I have $1,000 to my name. That's all the money I have, but it's plenty to start this pig business based on the numbers we've got. So, if everybody's familiar with what a check register is, I've got a starting balance of $1,000. I bought a pig for $300. Well, that's a payment. That's a debit to my account, 300. So what's my balance? Well, 1,000 minus 300 is $700. So I have 700 left. So I sold the pig for $600. So that's a credit coming back into me. It's a deposit to my account. 600. 700 was my balance before. 700 plus 600 is $1,300. So I have $1,300 in the bank. That's pretty good. So I go out and I buy the pig again for $800. So it's going to cost me a little bit more. So I've got $800 going out. I have an $800 payment. Well, my account just went from 1,300 down to 500 because I have to subtract the 800 I'm paying for the pig. Now, I sold the pig again for $1,000. So I've got another deposit. It's another credit coming back into my account. So what's 500 plus 1,000? It's $1,500. So I went from a starting balance of $1,000 up here. I went to an ending balance of 1,500. So the difference between that starting balance and the ending balance, well, that's really easy to calculate, right? Take your 1,500 minus 1,000 that we started with. Well, we're left with $500. That's the same number we keep coming up with because that's what the numbers tell us. It does not matter how much money we started with, as long as we can afford to buy the pig, we're going to end up with $500 more than we started. So, like once again, like here, I'm just saying the profit's always going to be 500. That's just what I said, right? Doesn't matter how much money we started with. Now, because although there's people out there, a lot of people get this, but there's people out there that are going to doubt this and they're already shaking their head. They may or may not have listened to what I just said, but they're going to doubt what I said. So I'm going to do one more example, and let's assume I have $5,000 available before I went pig shopping. So let's look at our check register here. The starting balance would be 5,000. I bought a pig for 300, right? Subtract 300 from my 5,000, I have $4,700. So I sell the pig for 600, so I'm going to add $600 back in. Well, I go from 4,700 now to $5,300 in my account. So I buy the pig again for 800. You subtract that 800 out of the 5,300, that leaves me with $4,500. So I sell the pig again for 1,000, so we're getting a credit here of 1,000. 4,500 plus that 1,000 gives us $5,500. So once again, to figure out how much money I made, just subtract my ending balance. No, subtract the starting balance from my ending balance. Well, that's 5,500 minus 5,000 equals $500 again. So it's pretty simple math, really. But I will see a lot of people online they'll say, well, you lost this much, you lost 300, you lost 400, which none of that really makes any sense. You got to back it up with figures, and that's just what I did for you. But we could play this game all day. But if you doubt me, do your own version of a checking account register and do the work for yourself. If you do it correctly, you're always going to make $500 more than you started with. And then I'll see, well, somebody will ask me a question like, but what if you had less than $300 to start with? I mean, it's a good question, right? If you have less than $300 to start with and you have no access to additional money, well, you're in trouble. You're not going to be able to make these purchases, right? You're not. But let's assume you could borrow. If I could borrow the money and did not have to pay any interest or fees, you'd still end up making an additional $500. And I'll show an example of that. So let's assume we had no money to start with. We had less than 300. Let's assume we have zero. We have no money. But we have this we have our Uncle Cletus, and Uncle Cletus likes us a lot. So he gives us interest-free money to borrow. So we like our Uncle Cletus a lot, so we're going to even agree to pay him back. We're still going to get $500 more than we start with, and I'll show you why. So here's our register. We got a few more entries in here because we got a little bit more going on, but our starting balance is $0. So I need to borrow $300 from Uncle Cletus because I want to buy this pig really bad. So he deposits $300 in my account. I've got $300 in my balance. So I go and I buy this pig for $300. Well, I've got a debit, a payment of 300. So now my account goes down to zero. Well, good news is I get to sell the pig for 600. Yay! I sold the pig for more than we paid for it. So I get $600 credited back to my account. I've got $600 sitting in my checking account. So what do I do at that point? Well, I said I like my Uncle Cletus a lot, so I'm going to pay him back the $300 that I borrowed so that we're even. So I have a $300 debit out of my account. So my checking account just went from 600 down to 300. I still have $300 left over after I paid Uncle Cletus back. I could stop right now and I made $300 profit. But I miss that pig a lot and I want to buy it back. It's kind of quiet, around the farm and I really want that pig. So I got to go borrow $500 from Uncle Cletus because the guy that I sold the pig to, now he wants 800. He wants to make money off of me now, right? So I borrow 500 from Uncle Cletus. So he gives me 500 that gets deposited. You add that to the 300 that I've already got. Well, now I have $800 in my account, just enough to buy the pig again. So I go and I buy the pig again for $800. So my debit is 800. So I subtract that 800 from my $800 balance, I'm back to $0. So it looks really dire. I don't have any money. So what have I got to do? Well, I want money too. I guess I like money more than I like the pig. So I sell the pig again for $1,000. So what happens? My account gets a deposit of $1,000. So I go from $0 to 1,000 because we added 1,000 to it. Pretty simple stuff, right? And I got to pay Uncle Cletus back the 500. Remember, we borrowed it up here so that I could buy that pig that second time because I couldn't make up my mind. So I pay back Uncle Cletus the $500, and so we subtract. That's a payment. That's a debit going out of my account back to Uncle Cletus. 1,000 minus 500 is 500. I have a $500 balance. So what happened? My starting balance was zero. My ending balance is exactly $500. The difference between the starting balance and the ending balance is 500 minus zero. My ending balance minus the starting balance, I have $500 left over. So once again, I have 500. And yeah, that's really it. So I hope this video has been helpful. If you see this puzzle online and you're confused or you see one similar to it, the math works out exactly the same. So once again, I appreciate your time and have a great day.